doing, but enough to try to overthrow Maduro during his first administration. He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Especially considering how, fast forward to today, as you guys saw at the beginning of this video, Chuck Schumer is singing a much different tune, right? And again, it really shows you that all of this stuff is a game for these politicians. They don't.
Thank you for joining us, Senator. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let me just start out. Do you think it's a good thing that Maduro has been removed from office?
Look, Maduro's a horrible, horrible person, but you don't treat lawlessness with other lawlessness, and that's what's happened here. The American people this morning, George, are scratching their heads in wonderment and in fear of what the president has proposed. The United States will run Venezuela. We have learned through the years, when America tries to do regime change and nation building in this way, the American people pay the price in both blood and in dollars.
You heard Secretary Rubio there. He says the United States has the authority to do what they're doing.
They do not. They do not.
Why not?
He couldn't even answer your question. There is no authority to go. They did not just do ships off the water. They went inside Venezuela, bombed civilian as well as military places, and it's a violation of the law to do what they did without getting the authorization of Congress. About all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
Socialist president Nicolas Maduro, you have Democrats engage in a full-blown fake meltdown over President Trump doing something that they all secretly agree with, right? And this is something I said in my first reaction to what happened, is that these Democrats are going to come out and they're going to publicly say stuff that they probably really don't believe, because for them, it's a political game. However, the internet is forever, which means that we have receipts showing the real position of Democrats and what they actually believe versus what they're saying today. When it comes to Nicolas Maduro, Democrats, before Trump did this, wanted regime change. They made it very clear that they support getting rid of Nicolas Maduro. Like, for example, watch this clip of Chuck Schumer explicitly stating that President Trump was not doing enough to try to overthrow Maduro during his first administration.
He brags about all these things he wants to do or is doing, but his actions belie his words. Maybe the best metaphor was his claim to bring democracy to Venezuela. There was a big policy there. It flopped. If the policy was working, Juan Guaido wouldn't be in the balcony here. He'd be in Venezuela. He'd be sitting in the president's palace, or at least waging a fight to win. He's here. And the president brags about his Venezuela policy? Give us a break. He hasn't brought an end to the Maduro regime. The Maduro regime is more powerful today and more entrenched today than it was when the president began.
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Especially considering how, fast forward to today, as you guys saw at the beginning of this video, Chuck Schumer is singing a much different tune, right? And again, it really shows you that all of this stuff is a game for these politicians. They don't actually believe anything except Trump bad, and anything that Trump is for, they're against, right? They have no principles whatsoever. Up next, we have Kamala Harris, okay? Kamala put out this very, very, very long post. She says, Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. That Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator does not change the fact that this action was both unlawful and unwise. We've seen this movie before. Wars for regime change or oil that are sold as strength but turn into chaos, and American families pay the price. The American people do not want this, and they are tired of being lied to. This is not about drugs or democracy. This is about oil and Donald Trump's desire to play the regional strongman. If he cared about either, he wouldn't pardon a convicted drug trafficker or sideline Venezuela's legitimate opposition while pursuing deals with Maduro's cronies. I find this to be so hilarious. Does anybody believe that Kamala Harris would be able to handle a situation like this, right? Does anybody believe that Kamala Harris has more competency when it comes to something like this than, for example, Marco Rubio, right? Like, come on. It is laughable. It is laughable to believe that Kamala Harris actually knows how to deal with something like this more so than somebody like Marco Rubio, right? And this woman is out of her mind. I hope she runs for president again so she can lose. The president is putting troops at risk, spending billions, destabilizing a region, and offering no legal authority, no exit plan, and no benefit at home. Yeah. How did the exit plan for Afghanistan work out, right? How did that work out, Kamala? Biden said you was the last person in the room when he decided on the Afghanistan withdrawal plan. How did that work out, right? Again, these people have no room to talk whatsoever. Failed leadership has no room to criticize successful, competent leadership. Remember, we went from international embarrassment with the Afghanistan withdrawal, the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, to flawless execution of military operations under Pete Hegseth, who they told us was unqualified, right? And that Lloyd Austin, the buffoon that was the Secretary of Defense under the Biden administration, and Kamala Harris, he's so qualified, he's so great, he's a decorated general. But again, look at the results. Look at the results. America needs leadership whose priorities are lowering costs for working families, enforcing the rule of law, strengthening alliances, and most importantly, putting the American people first. Yeah, so apparently Kamala Harris is now an America First patriot, right? She believes in lowering costs for working families, even though we got 9-10% inflation under Biden and Kamala Harris, right? Mass inflation. She believes in enforcing the rule of law, even though she opened up the border, right? She was the border czar, failed the border czar, kept the borders wide open, right? And I don't think that our alliances were very strong, okay, under Biden and Kamala Harris, right? They were very weak, okay? And this is probably why we saw Russia invade Ukraine, is because, again, everybody knows that the Biden administration was weak, okay? So, that being said, Eric Adams actually clapped back at Kamala Harris, calling out her hypocrisy here, because her administration, right, Biden's administration, raised a $25 million bounty for Nicolas Maduro. So this is the same administration that tried regime change, right? They tried to do exactly what they're criticizing Trump for doing, but for whatever reason, when Democrats do it, good, right? But when Trump actually does it, right, when he's actually successful at it, bad, right? Eric Adams is calling this out. He says, on January 10th, 2025, the Biden-Harris administration put a $25 million bounty on Nicolas Maduro for information leading to his arrest or conviction. Public safety is not a political game. You do not label someone a narco dictator 1 year and then pretend he is no longer a threat the next simply because a different president is in office. This is cynical and irresponsible. Yeah, I mean, I think those are perfect descriptions of the Democrat Party, right? Cynical and irresponsible. Yes, exactly. I mean, that's the modern day Democrat Party. They don't believe anything except Trump bad. That's all they believe. Maduro's drugs have killed thousands of Americans and continue to endanger our children. Imagine being the parent of 2-year-old Nicholas Feliz Demency, who died from fentanyl poisoning in a Bronx daycare, and watching this political theater. America is safer today because Maduro is no longer in power. Welcome to New York, Nicholas. Yeah. Well said, Eric Adams. Well said. Okay, well said. So with that being said, we got to talk about another Democrat whose hypocrisy is on full display here. Chris Murphy, right? He posted in 2019, when Trump was in office, his first administration, he said, if Trump cared about consistency, he would make the realist case for intervention in Venezuela. Getting rid of Maduro is good for the United States, rather than try to pretend his administration all of a sudden cares about toppling anti-democratic regimes. Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what about this clip right here? Let's play this clip.
So, over the past decade, Nicolas Maduro, the brutal dictator of Venezuela, has presided over a stunning collapse of the Venezuelan economy that has caused nearly 8 million Venezuelans to leave that country, most of which destined for the United States. Part of the reason why we saw 10,000 people showing up at the border every day last year, a number that the United States just can't handle with current resources because of the meltdown of the Venezuelan economy. And so it's no surprise that in the election that was held this week, Maduro clearly lost. The briefings that I've received today suggest that Maduro not only lost, he probably lost in a landslide and is attempting as we speak to steal the election. If he's successful, not only will Venezuela continue to spiral into political and economic chaos, but you will see more people come to the southern border. Maduro is now in a corner. We're working with our allies and our partners in the region to try to force him to accept the results of this election.
Yeah. So you seen that, you heard that, right? Isn't it amazing how before President Trump got in office, when Biden was in office, when Democrats were actively trying to overthrow Maduro, right, and failing to do so, they were totally for this, right? They were making an argument for why the guy had to go, right? Well, see, we got too many Venezuelans coming to the border, right? He's overrunning the border because everybody's escaping socialism, right? They understood why it was important to get rid of the guy before Trump actually did it. Now that Trump has did it, they're singing a different tune. And this guy got confronted on his hypocrisy live on CNN. Let's see what he has to say as an explanation.
In 2019, you wrote an op-ed and you called for Maduro to be gone. You said, let's get one thing straight. There should no longer be any debate about Maduro's lack of democratic legitimacy. The Trump administration is right to put restoring Venezuelan democracy at the center of our approach to this crisis. A return to a stable democracy is in the interest of the Venezuelan people and the United States and the hemisphere. We don't know what's going to happen with regard to the civilian leadership there. Tom Cotton was just here saying that he hopes that there are democratic elections. Isn't that what you want?
Well, the rest of that article, right, was a criticism of President Trump's early moves to saber rattle around regime change. Listen, there are evil...
Okay, so again, this guy was on record, right? The reason why he's chuckling is because he knows he just got called out on his hypocrisy, right? He knows that he has a history of advocating for the very thing that he now claims that he's against because Trump actually did it, right? It's amazing how Democrats don't understand that the internet is forever, right? That we have clips, we have proof and evidence that they supported this, that they all agreed that, hey, this was important. They criticized Trump during his first administration for not doing it. Now that he actually does it, something that they were unsuccessful at doing, now all of a sudden, oh, we don't support this. This is bad. This is terrible. These people don't believe anything. It is simply a game for them. Whatever Trump is for, they're against. That's it. And again, his chuckling there is that he knew that he got called out. He knew he got called out. He knows his history. He knows what he actually believes. He knows he supports this. But because he's an actor, because he's a character, because he sold his soul to the anti-Trump cause, right? Mm-hmm. Rather than actually standing up for something he really believes in, this is the response, right? This is what you get. These people are empty suits. They're empty suits. They are simply taking marching orders. Whatever the Democrat Party says, this is what these people go along with, right? Whatever Democrats need to say for power and control, what they feel like is good for them, that's what they're going to say. If being anti-Trump is what they feel like helps them, they're going to be anti-Trump. Regardless of whether or not Trump does the right thing, the wrong thing, they're going to hate it. They're going to be against it. These people should be ashamed of themselves. Again, an honest person would say, hey, look, at the end of the day,